Okay, so here's our homework problem from yesterday from 16.1. 16.2 is going to have questions that say something like this. I will give you the original problem, maybe just like this one was, x minus 4 to the fifth. And instead of saying expand it out and get this full answer, today is just going to say something like, find the coefficients of the fourth term. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the coefficient? Negative 640. That's your answer. It's just going to say find the coefficient of the fourth term. Or it might say what is the fourth term? And then you would write the entire fourth term. If it just says find the coefficient, you just need the number in front. Instead of saying that, it might say find the coefficient on the x to the fourth term. This is the x to the fourth term, right? Is it the fourth one down the line? No, the x to the fourth term is actually the second term in the sequence, and the coefficient is negative 20. So you won't be expanding it out. You will just be finding one term or perhaps one coefficient. And while you could expand it out and then just answer the question, what you're learning today will help you just figure out one term without writing all of it out. And it looks a little complicated at first, but once you do it 2 or 3 times, it goes pretty quick, and you will save time instead of writing it all out. So here we go. Applying the binomial theorem. It says in your book, the binomial theorem states what we've observed about binomial expansion in the previous lesson. Instead of looking at your book, let's look up here for a second so I can kind of explain this, because this looks a little tricky at first. These are what you did for notes and homework. You took something and expanded it. It wasn't always A and B. A could have been maybe 5A and negative 3B or B squared or something. So it's not just an A or a B, but A represents whatever is first. B represents whatever is last. This is sort of the pattern that you came up with. Remember, you would do, if this was, say, 5, you did 5, choose 0. Then 5, choose 1, 5, choose 2, all the way up until you got to 5, choose 5. So they're just denoting whatever exponent you have as n. And that's what these are all about. You'll start with 0, you'll go to 1, you'll go all the way until you get to that n number. And then in here, it just talks about what happens with our variables, which we've kind of noticed a pattern. You don't have to know this, just kind of sort of understand where it comes from. And if you notice patterns, you will notice, find this in your book above number 2 and maybe put a big square around that. I'll write it on the board over here. That's sort of your formula today. It's going to help you find, like I mentioned, the coefficient of just one term or an entire term. So what do these variables mean? Well, if you look here, these are what the variables mean. A is what's listed first. B is what's listed second. N is your exponent. What's the only other letter you see in here that we haven't talked about? Yep. R. What is R? You're going to have to read the problem to find R. If it says find the 7th term in the sequence, R is 7. If it says find the 11th term in the sequence, R is 11. It's the term you want. R is the term you want. A is here, B is here, N will be listed as your exponent. R is the term you want. Do I want the 5th one in the sequence, the 11th one, the 1st one? Which one do I want? So let's look at number 3 on the next page. I'm just going to jump right in, and after we do a couple, you'll catch on. Number 3, find the coefficient of the 6th term in the expansion. Let's not expand it and find all 12 terms. Let's just do what we're doing today with this formula to find the 6th term. What I would suggest you do for every problem is write N, R, A, and B. Fill in any of those variables that you think you've got figured out already. You might have to flip back a page to see kind of where they are. It comes from this. So N, what do you guys put for N? Yell it out. 11. Your coefficient, sorry, not your coefficient. Your exponent is N. 11. Let's skip R for a second. That's the hardest one. Jesse, what's A?
X.
Very good. And B? 2. If it were -2, you would make sure to write the -2, but if it's positive, we normally don't write it. So those should be very quick to find. R, I have to read the problem again. Find the coefficient of the 6th term. So R is 6. Now I'm going to use that formula that we circled that I've written on this board over here. So let's start with your parentheses. The top number is N. Okay, so 11. Bottom number is the R minus 1. R was 6, so that's going to be 5. Let's keep following our formula. Next, we need to write the A value, which is X. And the exponent on that is going to be N minus R minus 1. Do you notice you already have N and R minus 1 right here? So you're going to do the exponent is going to be N minus R minus 1, or this top number minus your bottom number. So you can write 11 minus 5, or just do 11 minus 5, 6. I'm now to my B term. B is 2. If it were negative, you'd put the negative in parentheses. Right now, it's just a 2. The exponent on that is R minus 1, which happens to be already the bottom number in your parentheses, so 5. Questions on that? Assuming you have the formula memorized in a day or two, is this part going to be easy then? Hopefully, yeah.
Can we simplify it?
Yes, we're going to do each part. Yep, so go ahead and grab your calculator. Please type in 11, choose 5 that we practiced yesterday. To refresh your memory, hit 11, math, over to probability. It should be your third choice. I get 462. X to the 6th doesn't really simplify. Let's simplify. 2 to the 5th is 32. Each of these were being multiplied, so they're still being multiplied. 462 times 32 is a large number. 14,784 x to the 6th. Is that my answer? No, my answer is find the coefficient of the 6th term. So I only have to circle the coefficient. Questions before we go on to number 4? Okay, try to identify the variables on your own. N is 8. A is X. B is -3. R, let me read. Find the coefficient of the 4th term. So R is 4. Those are all the variables we need to plug into your equation. So go ahead. Some of you are already doing this. The parentheses is N and R minus 1. Then you take your A, and your exponent on that is N minus R minus 1. So essentially 8 minus 3, which is 5. Take your B term, and that's going to go to R minus 1, which is your bottom term. Simplify each part if you can. You get 512 x to the 5th and -27. Multiply those numbers. If it says find the 4th term, you circle the whole thing. If it says find the coefficient of the 4th term, just circle the coefficient. Yeah. HA2. Let me see what I typed. Yep. 8 math. 56, is that what you said?
Yeah.
I better go fix that. Thank you. 56 times -27. -1,512. All right, go ahead and do 5, and then we'll do one other thing that's slightly different when you're done with that.
What did the 27?
-3 to the
Oh,
third.
okay, I did.
This one just says find the 7th term. So I leave the x in there. That's the whole 7th term. Actually, let's do 6 and then one other thing. Try 6 on your own. Basically, I just wanted to make sure that we got this part right. If a is 2x, and that's to the 5th power, make sure you do 2 to the 5th and x to the 5th. So that should be 3 to the 2nd. All right, let's use the same question. I want you to add one in your book. See if you have a space there. Yeah. Space there or below 11. Let's use the same one, but this time I want you to find, I'll call it question 7. Find the x squared term. Find the x squared term. And it's still 7. A is still 2x, B is still 3. Don't put a 2 here. Let's talk about this. We don't want to put a 2 here. That would be find the 2nd term. Does it seem like x squared would be the 2nd term in this list of sequence, this list? The first term is going to be x to the 7th. The second term is going to be x to the 6th, x to the 5th, x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x to the 2nd. You're actually wanting the 6th term. So that's something you'd have to figure out on your own. If it says find the 6th term, great, plug a 6 in there. If it says find the, and it gives you a specific one they want, you have to count or somehow mentally figure out when will the x squared term appear. If you're not sure, well, figure out the first term is going to be x to the 7th. The next term is going to have x to the 6th. Keep going until you get to the term you want. The 6th term. I'm not concerned about you guys using the formula again. I think you can do that. You've done it 3 times. I just want to make sure we can find the R term when they word it differently. should check out when you're done that it actually is the x squared term.
Really, the 7 is. Wait, no, I'm not. Let's set out.
Okay, let's go back up to number 3. Well, are there questions on this one? Okay, number 3. We're not going to do a whole new problem. We're just going to talk about something for 3. What if number 3 said find the x squared term? Write down what r would be. Number 3, if they ask you for the x squared term, figure out where that would be for r. What did we get? Okay. The first term is x to the 11th, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, x to the second, 10th term. Let's try another one. Let's say in number 4, instead of asking you for the 4th term, let's say it says find the x to the 6th term in this one. Figure out what r would be. What do we get? 3. Your first term is x to the 8th, then x to the 7th, then x to the 6th. So it's your third one down the line. R will be 3. You'll have both types on your homework, so just read carefully. If it has an x, you're going to have to count down where that x appears. It just says find the 7th term. R is 7. I also have your quizzes to pass back from yesterday. I think you can keep them. You can let me know if you have questions, because I don't think I'll just go over all the questions. Oh, yes, that's today. Anybody else with the extra credit? I already got some of yours.